Hey, welcome in. Glad you guys are here checking this out. We're very excited about this project and about doing some videos. This is unique. This is a unique opportunity timeline-wise for us because we are getting married in 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
7 weeks, babe. Getting married.
7.
Getting married in 7 weeks, and for forever from the beginning of our relationship, we have spent a lot of time talking about learning to love. Having a healthier expression of love, understanding more about who we are as individuals and what we want in relationship. It's just been a beautiful through line throughout our entire courtship, and happy to kind of culminate with these last 7 weeks and this little project we're doing. So the idea is that for the next 7 weeks, we're going to talk about, one of our favorite little books. It's a favorite little book of ours. It's by John and Julie Gottman. It's called The 7-Day Love Prescription. And gosh, we found this, a year or so ago?
Maybe longer. Your book is well worn.
It is well worn. I found this book, and I don't know, did we hear him on a podcast first?
Yes, yeah.
So, the Brene Brown podcast.
Maybe, yeah. They did a press blitz, and we're on a lot of podcasts talking about the new love prescription, 7 days to more intimacy, connection, and joy. And so you picked it up right away, and it is earmarked and tagged and underlined and beaten up, coffee stains.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this, and if you know John and Julie Gottman, and just a reminder, I'm a licensed California marriage and family therapist.
I'm a divorce coach.
And so we're all about saying, how can we do everything in the guise of health and just healthy relationships? And so John and Julie Gottman are psychologists, relationship specialists that have been around forever. And they have so many books out. They have so much literature. I mean, literally 40 years of literature and books.
And research.
And many of their books are just massive, academic and popular novel, research documentation. This is so nice because on their own admission, they said, this is like the research for the Instagram generation. So it's a small little book. It's very succinct, and it's like some of their most pure gold. And so I fell in love with this book. I've read it a half dozen times. I talk to my clients about it all the time.
It's very, very consumable.
Very consumable. We refer to it a lot in ways that are just kind of functions of our relationship. So with that being said, 7-Day Love Prescription. Our theory here, our idea here, big idea of the day, is 7 chapters, 7 videos to go through each of the days that are represented in the Gottman's book. So
when we're 7 weeks out from getting married.
That's right.
For the second time for both of us. So we're really hoping to get second marriage right. And this is a book that we kind of reference to each other even. We certainly both do it in our work, but even with each other, it's these kind of 7 different modalities and themes that really help relationships stay strong. And so it's a good way to kind of check in with each other, like, hey, are we doing, number 2? Are we doing well on number 5? And the different, with each video we do, we're going to go through one of the different chapters, and in their framing or reference, it's different days. So 7 days to more intimacy, connection, joy. And so we're going to go kind of one by one. And day 1 is make contact.
Connecting. Yeah. So what I love about this is again, kind of this pure gold model from the Gottmans. They're saying the bottom line is you've got to connect. If you don't find a way to connect in your normal life, then you're going to have challenges. And there's some unique statistics that they have of, the average couple with small kids sees each other, like 25 minutes a week or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they gave that stat maybe on the podcast we first heard about it on. It was something insane, like 2 people that live together and have kids under the roof, 2 people that are working. It was something unbelievable. Like they only talk like 37 minutes every week, like in a 7-day span, only speak like less than 37 minutes or 27. It's a shocking number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first chapter is we've got to find a way to make connect. And in the absence of having just an hour and hours of sitting down and discussing life every day, they talk about little like micro connections. What are little ways that we can connect with one another throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout life?
And their hallmark word around it is bids for connection, like that you offer a bid to your partner to connect. And or that you either the one offering, or that you start to have eyes to see or ears to hear and know that your partner is trying to reach out and that your partner is making a bid.
Yeah. And it goes from the basic, model of intimacy. Like if we do this and talk about other books, we'll talk about some of the other books that have really been influential in our, again, our personal lives and our understanding of relationship. But the model of basic intimacy is that there's this sense of connection that we even see from like a baby to a nursing mother. That there's just this sense of like, hey, do you see me? Like, hey, I need a little attention. Hey, I could use a little, connection. And so the baseline of intimacy is I see you, I connect with you, I want to connect with you through my actions, my nonverbal cues, and so that we can then move towards connecting. The foundation of this is it creates and reinforces the sense of liking each other. And so one of the greatest things I love about this chapter is just a sense of I want to connect with you. And again, in my work, there's so many folks that just I feel like they've grown cold in their relationship, kind of built up resentment, and so there can be kind of a baseline disconnect. And so what we're doing is by proactively doing these actions, it's just actions, it's an intentional action. What happens is our heart softens and resentments melt away, and there's more of a sense of like, oh yeah, you're my spouse, you're my partner, I like you, this is somebody who I want to connect with. And so it becomes sort of a self-perpetuating activity and model. So love the idea, love the chapter. Bids of connection. There's a few aspects of the bids of connection.
And so I think one thing also to call out with the bids for connection is that it is a real antidote for a couple not to transition into roommate mode, which is what Mark was essentially saying, is that many couples, if they've been together for many years, can easily slip into the roommate mode is the best word for it, of just kind of like, hey, we cohabitate, you do the dishes, I'll do the laundry, you pick the kids up, I'll do this. And you're just kind of like passing ships in the night, just functioning under the same roof, but you're not actually connecting. And so my guess is why the Gottmans led with this day one being make contact and bid for connections is that it was proved out in their research that the number one predictor of happiness for happiness and relational stability was the couple's ability to make these connections, to see them and receive them. So making connection, making contact, the giving and receiving of these bids for connection is the number one predictor of happiness and relational stability. So that's huge. And they're kind of saying, you have to start here. Like this is the foundation of making these intimate, not always affectionate, but often affectionate connections to say like, hey, we're a team, we're a unit, we're in love, and here's little ways to show you that, bite-sized ways throughout the day. And one of the things they really delineate in the chapter is that there's 3 ways that partners could respond to an invitation. And we can maybe talk about what are some examples of a bid for connection. So what's some examples?
Yeah.
If you make a bid, what's an example of a bid for connection?
Yeah. Well, an illustration they use in the book is, one partner might be like scrolling through their phone and say, oh, here's an interesting article. This is fascinating. And the other person might be looking at their phone as well, or their computer or whatever it is. And to simply respond and say, oh, really? Like, what's the deal? Put down their phone and turn towards their spouse or their partner and say, I'm interested. You've engaged me, and have a direct engagement. That's called turning towards one another.
Well, hang on. Let's wait to do the responses. Let's initially run through like 10 examples of what's a bid for connection. What does a bid look like?
Yeah. Eye contact, smile, offering a cup of coffee in the morning, a hug.
A greeting as you're like coming in or out of the room, like, hey, or when someone comes home. I think that's a big thing that couples lose over the years is not having it be an event. And we sort of do this almost in a cartoonish way in the mornings, like whoever's in the kitchen first and the other one comes in like, oh my gosh, you're here. Welcome to Tuesday.
Let's be clear. The morning lark does that more often than the night owl. So it's much more of a bit of connection you extend to me, which I'm very grateful for. I love it.
Yes. So greetings and when someone enters or leaves the room or leaves the house, so that you aren't always just like running to the store and not saying anything, or acknowledging when someone comes home. But yes, like a smile, a laugh, pulling, taking up something upstairs that's your partner's that they needed in the bedroom. Like just little things that you're saying, like, I see you. This is something I'm doing to love you in this little small, like micro way that I hope you see as love. And that is part of it, because even in our relationship, sometimes, we'll be in a disconnect and you'll say, I did this thing, like emptied the dishes. Like that was my bid for connection. And so sometimes a lot of the work is being able to have the eyes to see when your partner is even making a bid.
Which is, again, one of the reasons I like this so much as a discipline, as an action. So you're changing your lens from just being self-absorbed, self-centered, and sometimes we feel just like we're self-surviving in the busyness of day and sleep and sleep deprivation and kid management or household management or work. So what we're doing is at least opening our lens, kind of like opening the notion of, oh, you are open to connecting with me, and I do want to connect with you. So it becomes sort of, again, like this, like, fire that gets fuel, and so it can burn more brightly over time.
Okay, so we talked about some examples of what's a bid for connection with your partner. We showed it could be little things throughout the day of sweetness. And there are 3 ways that the Gottmans kind of outline that are the typical responses. So there's one, turning towards, and Mark previewed that a little bit of the example of somebody saying, hey, I saw this article. And so turning toward would be if you're doing something on your phone or your computer, you kind of stop and say, oh, really? Like, what is it? I'm interested. That's turning towards the person when they make that bid of saying, hey, I found something interesting. Turning away is just keep doing what you're doing and maybe like even a non-response. That's actually turning away because you're not acknowledging them. You just keep doing what you're doing and you sort of don't even hear them essentially. And then the third way is turning against, which is the worst. As you can imagine, it's somebody saying like, oh my God, you're so annoying. Like, can't you see I'm working right now? And so that's the most antagonistic one, which, you're in a really bad spot if you've got one partner making bids for connection, saying like, hey, I want to connect. I love you. Like, I want to share this thing with you. And then you're met with vitriol, an antagonistic response. Like, that's really tough. And so whether you turn towards or away or against really matters. And they actually put this stat in there that's pretty powerful, that people who ended up getting divorced in one of the studies they ran, they only turn toward their partner when making bids for connections 33% of the time. And then couples that stayed together turned towards each other 86% of the time. So that's huge and just really amazing indication of how important it is when your partner says like, hey, I see, like, I want to share this with you, or do you see me smiling at you, or do you see me opening the door for you, or these little things that your partner's like, oh my gosh, yes, I do. Thank you. Like, I received that. And then you have this micro moment of connection in your day.
Yeah, I like it. And what it does is, again, it creates that mindset of looking for it to where you might not even do a bit of connection with high intent. It might just be a normal thing. Like, oh, hey, I'm just, going to go to the kitchen. Would you like something? But then for the other person to, celebrate it, to call it out. It's like, babe, it's so sweet of you. When you go to the kitchen, you ask if I need anything and bring me back a glass of water or something. Like, that's really sweet. And so again, it's just perpetuating this, I see you, I like you, I want to, do this life with you. This is fun. And that's a huge part of it. And I guess the reason I kind of, grab a hold of that so much is because for, almost 20 years now, as a licensed marriage family therapist, I've heard so many people say like, well, I love my spouse, I'm just not in love with my spouse. And I kind of translate that as I love my spouse, meaning we're bound to one another through children or our faith or our finances or our family structure, but I don't like them. And I think a huge part of life is liking your life and liking your spouse and your partner and, feeling good about who you are and in who you're in life with and the life that you curate. That's like why we're doing this. Like, that's what this is all about. So if we can increase the liking, then it's even that much easier. Not only to say, okay, cool, we're not in danger of divorce, but we're actually more existentially satisfied and more just, able to enjoy our existence and what we're doing together.
Love that. Well, that's all I had on the day one make contact from the love prescription of John and Julie Gottman. Anything else you want to add on this?
I love it.
Day one, bids for connection.
I'll leave you with this, with what I leave some of my couples when I do. I say this week, make note of your actions and intention. And it's not going to be some sort of like master checklist of like who got the better score. But it's curating the mindset of awareness of, I want to go ahead and do this action. Even if your feelings are neutral, even if you guys are in a place where it's kind of like if you're in a relationship, it's kind of a neutral, cool relationship, through the discipline or the action of, I'm going to ask if they need anything. Just see how that begins to warm your heart. And then likewise, if you and your spouse are both willing to do it, then it almost becomes like, in my mind, like a video game of just like ding, 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 bonus points for this, bonus points for this. And you both win when you play this bid for connection game.
Love it. Awesome. Stay tuned. We're going to have 6 more episodes in the 6 weeks leading up to our wedding.
Right on. Thanks, guys. Bye.